So hello and welcome back to Exploring Azeroth. This week we are again going to be exploring with Onyx because we are exploring Durotar. Durotar is a zone that is mostly desert, as you can see looking out at it here. And it's an interesting zone, and I just managed to really hurt Onyx just jumping off the bridge, which is the bridge that goes from the Northern Barrens over to Durotar. So, we're going to talk a little bit first about the South Fury River, which I didn't know that much about until I just started looking it up to research for this video. The South Fury River is Kalmandor's most prominent river. It begins from a lake that is up in Mount Hyjal and drops all the way down into all of the regions below via a set of spectacular waterfalls and finally empties into the Great Sea in another waterfall, which I am now curious about, that is supposed to be just northeast of Ratchet. So you know what, I'm going to distract myself for a minute and we're going to go find this waterfall. Now, eventually I'm sure that we will even see the lake that this comes from, but not yet. I want to see this waterfall and see if they actually put it in game. Why not? So yeah, I have been doing quite a bit of reading. I mean, you definitely got to do a little bit of research because I don't know Kalmandor as well as I know the Eastern Kingdoms. You can definitely tell where I have spent most of my time. I am not seeing a waterfall around here anywhere, so maybe it is only not necessarily in the game itself. It's supposed to be, alright. Well, that explains it. I went the wrong way. Alright, we're gonna go waterfall hunting, and I'm gonna see if I can find it. See, I think the secret is you actually have to consult your map every once in a while. It probably explains why I get lost so often in real life as well. Now, if you are on the Northern Barrens, you can do some quests for the goblins and end up taking a riverboat, this riverboat right here, and getting a ride. But yes, there is a waterfall. I'm not sure I would count it as spectacular, but I did want to at least check on that. So as we head into Durotar itself, we're going to start in a place that may be familiar to a lot of players in the board because it is the Valley of Trials, the home of the Orcs starter area. Now, Durotar, correct me down in the comments if I am wrong, but I think that Durotar is the only area in all of the game that has two starter zones in it. One for the orcs and the other one for the trolls. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and I had never really thought about it before, but I cannot think of any other zone in World of Warcraft that has two races that start in it. So I thought that was kind of cool. Now, as you can see, the orc starter zone is actually really big. Like, it's impressively large, and it also has one interesting little factoid that I learned on a WoW Krenor video recently, and I did not know about, and that is there is the cutest little pig over here. I don't know if he's tameable, but if you see, that is Loshal the pig. He is very tiny, and I think he is the cutest thing I've ever seen, and I want to see if Loshal is tameable. So let's find out. Oh, he is. Oh my gosh. Alright, I bet he grows though. Oh, he does. Oh, look, he got very big, but he is now yet another one of Onyx's pets. I think that's two boars that I have gotten Onyx lately, but darn it, I wanted Loshal because he is just the cutest, especially when he was tiny, little boar. And besides, you know, I rescued him from being bacon with all of these North Watch scouts. Alright, Loshal, you just head off and live your best life in the stable with the rest of the kitty cats. I'm sure they will not bother you. I thought that that was pretty interesting. WoW Crendor was doing a video on, I think it was the top 10 boars in World of Warcraft, and Loshal was on that list. So I had to come and see him myself. Also in this area, you can climb up the hidden path. This is an area if you are a shaman, especially from classic times, you will remember well because this was the first steps on becoming a shaman. Now, for any other class, it doesn't really do much, but it was also a way that the Alliance could sneak in to the Orc starting zone via this hidden path right here. Now, I didn't actually play for real back in vanilla. I did try the game and did not enjoy it. I am definitely the most hardcore casual player you will ever beat in your life. I am not a hardcore player. I do like all the quality of life changes. Now, if you are an Alliance player, none of these guys will be hostile to you, but then again, everything else in Durotar will. And this is North Watch Foothills, on your way over to the North Watch Hold. As a Horde player, this is one of your first times, other than in the starting zone, if you're an Orc, that you will be skirmishing with the Alliance infantry. This is actually quite a fun little quest. Mostly because, you know, you get to beat on everyone. Alright, we're gonna move on to now the troll starting area, which is the Darkspear Echo Isles. Honestly, I had not done this in a very long time until I think it was this winter when I went through and did all of the starting zones from all of the different races, and I was really impressed with the troll starting area. It was a lot of fun. Almost as much fun as the goblin starting area, but almost a little bit better. Just because in the troll starting area, you're not stuck here if you don't want to be. Although I still deeply regret the fact that you can never go back to the goblin starting isle. That makes me very sad because that is a place I would love to thoroughly explore. So as you can see, you end up at the end of the troll starting area seeing a little bit of history, and that is Vol'jin killing the sea witch who killed his father. So that is definitely a worthwhile thing. And I also found out one other thing that I do want to investigate. Let's see if this is the right isle. There is an isle in the Echo Isles that is everybody's favorite troll, Zappy Boy's favorite place, and it could be this. And it is an island where it's, I think, called Night Isle, and this is a shrine to one of the Bat Loa. I thought that was really interesting. It's either that one. It's the smallest of the isles with a very large tree, so I'm just going to assume that it was that one and probably move on from there. Although it also could be this one. This looks a little bit more like a shrine. Interesting. Definitely got some masks and some... looks a little more shrine-like. I really do appreciate all of the art and design that was put into all of these areas. Speaking of art and design and interesting things that I found as I was just kind of zipping around. Now, back in classic times, I think that this might have been where you started as a troll. I never did start a troll back in my early days of WoW. So, I don't actually remember. But I do know that this is one of the very first places that you go to after you leave the Orc starting zone and go along on your way to Razor Hill, which is our next stop. Now, another interesting fact I found out about Durotar, which, by the way, was named for Thrall's father, Durotar, and that interesting little thing that I learned about Durotar, I almost forgot just now. It was that the Orcs actually pushed the Quillboar out of Durotar mostly and into the Northern Barrens because Durotar was originally the homeland of the Quillboar. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, here we are at Tiragard Keep, which I can't really tell you that much about, but I did notice, and it kind of amused me, that if you run around on these ships, you're going to come across all of these dead Alliance players, which is not that unusual to find, but there was one, and if I can find him again, he just amused me to no end, that was under one of these ships, and I was just like, what on earth is that? Oh, it's just a dead Alliance player. Okay. Now, you will do some questing in here if you are playing through, and you will end up aiding all of the Horde players. There he is. I thought this was just so random. I'm always poking around, but yeah, this guy definitely didn't make it, but he died with his sword in his hand, so I guess we'll give a little bit of respect. Also, I'm not sure why there is water under this ship when it is so far away from the ocean. I guess it kind of brought its own water with it. I thought that was kind of interesting. Alright, moving right along, we're going to come up on the Razor Hill outskirts and Razor Hill itself. Not much I can say about this. It is your main questing hub after you leave the Echo Isles or the Valley of Trials, which is the Orc starting zone. It is where you will meet up with your profession trainers, your trade supplies, learn some basic skills, and I do remember one of the first Horde characters I ever made was a Orc hunter, and I had never encountered this type of building before, and I was so confused as to what to do. And I could see that there was a quest giver for me up above, but I could not figure out for the longest time how to get up there. Just goes to show I was not the best player ever imaginable. I'm still not, but you know, I like to think that I'm at least a little bit better than I used to be. So as we go on, the Cataclysm did bring this big swampy area to Durotar, and that is the South Fury watershed. And nowadays, you get a really fun set of quests over here in this watchtower, where you're given a bunch of different tasks to do. And one of my favorites is going and helping Grandma out of her drowned house. And she's really hilarious. You get to help her. She's like, oh, I'm a poor old lady. It turns out poor old Grandma is actually a really incredibly good shaman, and she can just water walk while you're getting the crud beat out of you. It always does amuse me. And it's a really fun series of quests. Honestly, Horde questing is just as much fun as Alliance questing, and I always forget that. So here is the last remains of the Quill Boar. You're going to be fighting them quite a bit. And also, on the approach from Orgrimmar to Durotar, you're going to get to fight a bunch of harpies. It'll get you prepped for the harpies in the Northern Barrens if you head that way. But you go right down into the canyon here, and there are just harpies everywhere. Unfortunately, there really aren't, well, there are Horde houses. They just aren't nearly as much fun to me as most of the Alliance houses. I guess that's my own personal bias showing. But I did find out that despite the fact that Durotar looks like the most unproductive farmland ever, back in the olden times of WoW, Durotar was actually considered pretty good farmland, and they traded with Theramore back when times were a little bit better. And I'm guessing from looking at all the farms around here that what they traded was pig meat. Makes perfect sense to me. Now, the other couple things that are up here, really there isn't much left to Durotar, but there is a couple little farms that you can go to. You got the Rock Tusk Farm and the Jagged Swine Farm. If you're looking for your own little farm to have as a Horde side player right outside of Orgrimmar, this is, by my definition, a house. It has not one but 2 beds and a table that you can sit at, and you even have dinner ready. So if you're looking for a Horde style house, that is definitely one you can get. And you know, you're right here just adjacent to everything you could possibly need in Orgrimmar, which is where we're going to be going next week. The last little thing that I find extremely interesting over here is I had never really investigated the boat that stays docked that brought you from the goblin starting area.
Adventurers, we shall depart for the Dragon Isles shortly.
And honestly, I don't think I ever took the time as a goblin to come back and really check it out, but if you wanted your own personal Horde ship, this is a pretty good one. You got the controls up here, you got your own little beach, seat. Then you can go down into the main boss's cabin here. You've got tiki drinks, your own little almost throne down here. Honestly, it's a quite nice little ship, and I don't know why I never really paid much attention to it. It's not the biggest of all ships, but you've got bombs everywhere, in case you needed some. And it's actually got everything you need. Well, kind of. I think a few of the other ships that I've found maybe are a little bit better if you wanted to live out your own personal little Admiral fantasy, but you got some pretty cool little posters on the walls, so could be worse. Anyway, that is honestly about it for Durotar. There's one other little area that is the pet battle, initial pet battle master that you can go to. It is right over by Grandma's place, and it's a very easy battle. It's 2 level 1 critters. You can pretty much beat it with anything that you want, but it is one of the first pet battles that you will do if you decide to start pet battling as a Horde player. And it is right over here by yet another cute little house. Well, alright, cute by Horde standards. But it is right here at the Torkren farm, and it is Zunta, the aspiring pet trainer. Actually, he's got one beast type pet and one critter type pet. Not too hard to take out. And that is pretty much where we're going to leave it. Ooh. Except we're going to open up this treasure chest. Nice. Alright, well that was definitely worthwhile. I always do love treasure. But that is where we are going to leave it this week. Next week we are going to be examining and exploring Orgrimmar itself, the main Horde city, and a place I know a tiny bit better than some of the others because I have run around in it as many a Horde player has. I'll probably still miss a lot, so hopefully I won't miss too much. But as always, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week when Onyx and I run around and try to find everything cool that we can possibly find in Orgrimmar.